Can you hear me, right? Because when I feel this pressure, it's like I'm in a Teams call or playing World of Warcraft. Uh, okay, so let me introduce myself. This is Esat. I've been with the NMQ family for roughly 15 years, and I had the opportunity to work with some of you in past, and maybe at the end of today, like get the chance to work with rest of you. I mean, maybe not today, next week, next month. I always got time, and this is not a smartwatch. Sorry, it's a Casio Nerd Edition. Because smartwatches keep telling me I should move more, and I do that twice a day for taking coffee. But anyway, let's jump to the stick. So 2 years ago, when we did the first event, and the hot topic was the AI. Back in that time, it's still the hot topic, but back in that time, it was about the potential that what could be done with Gen AI. It was only like a year old. Now it's been, I think, 3.5 years since we all know of ChatGPT. There was back in time, I think there was not even a competitor. And the whole idea was, in future we would be able to do that. In future we will be able to do that. It's coming, it's growing up, it's getting bigger. But the trouble, not the trouble, but the reality is mostly, I'm not sure if my company will ever let us use that. The privacy, the ITs don't like it. And we had actually two groups in the business, or I think the rest of humanity. One side was like, this is not working. I ask a question, it gives me a stupid answer. And the other side was, no, it works, it does everything. But today, I think it turns out we are all using it. And I'm going to show you the method that we transformed into. And we've been trying to complete that transformation for the last year on how to measure the usage of AI. It's not about how to use AI. It's not about what could be done with AI, but it's about to, get the answer if it's really creating a value for you, or for your company, for your team, for yourself, for your kids in the school doing homework with it, or it's just yet another activity. The marketing is full of activities through the years. You heard from Rodrigo and Marion. And maybe at the end, to give you an answer, how we execute these things. Creating synthetic personas, creating an advanced AI searchability and all that. But before that, I want to start with a question. So assuming whether you like it or not, everybody is using AI. And the question is, if you truly know that you are able to measure its impact in your organization, in your team, in your life, with the true return on investment, true efficiency gain. I used to spend an hour for this task, now it's only 5 minutes. Please show up green. But if you hope that it works, which I think in most situations, please show up the orange one. Sorry, we can actually see who is successful in this. Crazy how. So the reason it is hard to measure is because we treat it as a tool. Most of us don't really have a system around AI. We have behaviors on the individual level. We think we are purchasing Copilot. Well, it's just another subscription, and it's the one maybe your IT lets on, and you just keep using it, or you expect people to get benefit out of it. But you still treat it as a tool. But what this actually creates inside your team is, I'm pretty sure in recent years, you had a couple of people in the team that really shining. Because they are like, I get this done with AI. I have this done with AI. There are probably now vibe coders, non-developers who are creating stuff automating things where you would not expect them to do. That was the task of your IT or maybe your development team a couple of years ago. Now they are really happening in your team. And that's because the results are on individual level. Maybe some people just clicked, they figured it out, and they're using it. Or maybe they like to experiment more. Maybe they got lucky. And you get some successful result, but it's on the individual level. And then the second reality is, so the output they create is there, but how they get it, it's invisible. You don't really know if you ask a question to a person, how did you get this? You don't really get an answer because you don't know. It's almost like, especially in chatbots, it's a communication. But sometimes it's really connecting dots, creating agentic work, etc. But most of the time, especially in the marketing teams, it's invisible. And the quality, the output varies. Here's the thing. When an output works for the first time, you hope that the second would work again. Maybe you got lucky and it did, and you hope that the third would work again. The main reason behind that is, if someone is really able to make AI talk the way they want, AI is so confident. It's going to really give you, if you ask it that, this is my campaign, can you find the best subject line? It will tell you a sentence. It will not tell you this might not be the best one, but it will tell you a sentence. So the quality varies, especially when you are not really strict on the consistency about your brand tone, and all that. And the final one is nothing is captured. So a process might have been successfully executed with the help of AI by some genius in your team utilizing it perfectly. But then the next time when you want to redo the same work, you go to that person, right? Because it's that person who completed that. It's not a method. It's not a way of working. That person was just experimenting or doing more. And what this actually means, unlike all the KPIs or targets, the platforms, the tools that we purchase for better success, if something is on the individual level that is not manageable, that is not measurable, but somehow everybody expects or hopes that it works, you cannot scale that solution. You cannot govern that solution. You just keep using it. You believe it works, you see some results, but you don't know how much impact that you actually gained. And here's the real deal, right? If it's not measurable, if you cannot govern it, if it's depending on individuals or the technology, this month cloud is better than ChatGPT, next month we don't know. Copilot sucks, but sometimes it works. So if you're not able to assess the impact, the potential, we are not having a capability. We are having a dependency. That dependency could be on the technology until the next release is coming, or could be on that team member, could be on the agency that you work with, could be on the data point that is about to get obsolete. And this whole world, if you're a marketing leader, you're basically an observer. You might be providing the necessary tools to your team, and you hope it works, and then sometimes it does, but you're not in control. So you're observing it. And the main reason behind that is because those leaders treat AI as a tool, as a piece of software. But in reality, it's a force. It needs direction. It's not like you got your company the new marketing automation solution because it has multi-channel. No. AI is a force. It could be attached to pretty much every digital channel, every marketing step, but not as a tool. It needs a direction. And how we solve that internally and how we created the AI way of working or utilizing that into the automation platforms, the new services that we onboarded, is through turning the entire way of working into an operating system. So what you see there is not really 5 steps or 5 blocks. It could be 6, it could be 3, it could be 10. But the whole idea is you're treating it as one system. In our reality, we got the input where you define what you want to achieve. You define what you want to share with it. There could be privacy reasons for some of the data points. That's fine. But there could be a lot of reality around your output that you desire. And the next one is, this is the fancy part, because you define roles. You know, we have roles. We all have roles in organizations. But AI, if you treat it like a human being, it actually takes and carries a role as well. So you need to define who does what in this software, in this operating system. Whether AI is responsible for generation, for us it's most of the time, but human is for quality control, checks, and validation. The fourth block is the memory. We need to make sure that a defined input that comes with a perfect output and with the defined roles, that system needs to be memorized because we want to reuse it. We don't want it to be just lost in translation or because someone was able to do that. We want it to be reusable. And that's where you create this entire operating system into a program. And the last one is governance. So this still needs a human control. It's not the dream that I'm trying to say, you know, AI is just doing everything on itself. No, it needs governance. And our current method, we do that weekly. Why weekly? Because, well, if you're following, I'm not expecting everyone to be nerd as me, but there used to be releases every 6 months on these AI tools, right? The Geminis, the ChatGPTs and clouds, etc. Now we don't know. They used to announce that they were big things. They were saying, you know, we just refreshed the memory. Now it goes up to 2022 and etc. Now we don't really know. It changed dramatically. And sometimes, I believe, you realize this thing was smarter last week. Why the hell now it's not answering my question? Or somehow it's just now listing me all the bullet points in another sentence. And sometimes it's the opposite because they do A/B testing against us as well. But we govern this operating system weekly. And now let's move the boxes a little bit to show something more structure. And I think now this is gonna make more sense. Let's assume this is a true step-by-step execution. That could be the steps for creating these personas. That could be the steps for creating content, creating email campaigns, marketing campaigns, multi-channel campaigns, etc. So in input, you define your data. You define your brief. You know, that brief could actually be the intakes that you might already be using. And you define your templates. You know, these are your rules. And it's not prompts. It's prompts with instructions. So you tell it what you want to achieve at the end. That's why that's the most critical part. And then you define the roles. You know, okay, is it going to create a subject line? Is it going to create a whole campaign, whole email? Or maybe a report? Who does what? So is my AI responsible for the asset creation? Is my human responsible for the QA? Or the vice versa, QA could be AI. Maybe the human would be getting this data out of the system and responsible for throwing that into your CDP, because you don't want AI into your database, in the sensitive database. And the output, at the end of the day, it creates an output. And we gotta make sure that output is consistent in the quality. It's consistent with our rules, with our brand, and it's ready to use, right? It should be ready to use. We are not really looking for text input and text output. I don't want AI, we are in 2026, I don't want AI to just get me a paragraph. I want it to create the asset. I want it to populate it with the content or the creativity that I'm asking for. And after the execution, we memorize this. So we measure We see if it worked, and then you reuse these proven outputs for the next moment. So when you look at the boxes, the system from that perspective, now it looks more like a program. Not an application, it's a program. Step by step, let's call it creating synthetic personas. Let's call it, this is my automation for creating the Twitter campaign, the social media campaign. Because when you have all these boxes predefined, when you are thinking AI as an operating system, another tool, you became the orchestrator, right? It's not on the individual level. It's no longer a dependency on a person. It's no longer a dependency on a technology. You are the orchestrator. You can run this. You can create tens of this platform, tens of this program for the many localized versions of your campaigns, metadata report creation. But that's the principle that we have transformed into. So we control these programs with principle. We are directing the force. We don't think AI is a tool. We think it's a force. Now, maybe a last question. If I was able to express myself, what do you think of yourself in the current reality when it comes to AI? Are you an observer, or are you an orchestrator? Thank you. I think it's mostly observers, and green I see from NMQ most. So, final words. Your team uses that. Your family uses that. Everyone uses that. There could be restrictions on privacy. I'm not talking about breaking rules. But the current trend, the current reality, leaders are pushing for their teams, top to bottom, use AI, use AI. I want efficiency, I want productivity. Or just use AI because it's the next best thing. So it's not a tool. It's already a force that's shaping your team. And it will keep shaping that team, whether you like it or not. So you need to decide whether you want to direct it or let it shape your organization with or without you. And if any further question, I wish I was able to explain you the nerd side of how AI works, but maybe that will be for the next event. I think I will be there for for speech for the clinic. Thank you for coming. I guess I am done. So now back to Elida.